Hello, hello, and welcome to my thought on this very hot Tuesday with a little bit of a breeze in London. And as I walked down the street, I realized that the pigeons are really hungry. They're really hungry. They they're pecking at anything they can get, and that's because the shops that used to be open along the A10, which is where I walk, part of where I walk. Um, those people used to throw them rice. They used to do that, and now they don't. They don't do it anymore. And because the shops are closed, so the pigeons are hungry, and I know that a lot of people object to the pigeons. I think the pigeons are lovely. But I remember when I interviewed a 99-year-old woman in San Francisco, and you ask them, you always ask them, so what is it that annoys you most? What is your secret for longevity? And in those days, they did usually said, because I believe in the Lord, which I don't really think does a lot of good, but they would always say that. But I remember I interviewed this older lady, she was 99, and I said to her, what is the thing you hate most? And this sweet little old lady, she said to me, I hate those fucking pigeons. I really hate those fucking pigeons. But I'm reading that it's not just the pigeons that are starving. The rats are not able to get food because the restaurants are not throwing scraps out for them. And so now they're coming into people's homes. And I know people object to rats and mice, but they are awfully cute. They really, I know that they're objectionable, but they're awfully cute. And I remember when we lived in 40 Burkett Place in Toledo, Ohio, we had mice. So I'm moving from pigeons to rats to mice. But we had mice. And I had never really seen a mouse, but my mother had evidently seen one and was not happy. So she set traps all over the house. And these were not humane traps. These were horrible, horrible traps. But she was afraid of mice. So I was the one, of course, who had to go check the traps every night. And one day we caught a little mouse. And it was the most beautiful, softest little thing. So I put it in my hand, and I was just taken with it. And I ran upstairs because we had a two-floor house. I ran upstairs to my mother's bedroom to show her this beautiful, beautiful little creature. And I think I must have been 10 or 11, and I really didn't understand about it being dead. I knew it wasn't moving, but I didn't understand that the life was gone from it. And I came running into my mother's room and I said, the most beautiful thing to show you. And my mother, after she screamed, threw me out, threw me out of the bedroom, and I never brought her another mouse again. But then, when I was maybe 15 or 16. Oh no, I was older. I was 19, and I was a counselor at a camp in Port Clinton, Ohio, and I got a letter from my mother that said, we have just gotten us a hamster. And I said to the children in my cabin, I said, what's a hamster? They all knew. They said, it's a rat. And when I came home, I met the hamster. The hamster's name was Lizzie. And Lizzie was absolutely adorable. She was just as cute as a little mouse that I caught, and I loved her too. She was just adorable, and I have always loved soft, furry things. I mean, people know I like soft, furry everything. I like soft, furry men. I like furry. You can't keep me out of the gorilla cage when we go into a zoo. But at any rate, we had Lizzie. And Lizzie was extremely unhappy because we were not educated on how to take care of hamsters. These days, there's a helpline for people who own a hamster. So if anybody's watching this and has a hamster, you can go on a helpline and you can find out how to help your hamster. But we didn't know. And our little Lizzie was just miserably unhappy. And we kept her in the den. We had a den where we kept the television set, the desk that nobody used, and Lizzie. And so when we went to bed one night, Lizzie managed, tiny little rat, managed to open her cage and get out. And she went behind the cage and she began to gnaw at the wooden floor. And because we were such clods, we never noticed she wasn't there the next day. We didn't notice. And she gnawed and gnawed and gnawed until she gnawed a hole big enough for her to drop through to the basement, where she thought she could escape. Freedom! But instead of dropping to the floor, she landed in the trash bin because my mother had the trash, the paper trash. It wasn't the garbage, it was the trash. Right below where she had dug the hole. So the next day, my sister, who had the best hearing in the family, all of us are half deaf, but anyhow, she was walking in the basement, and she was probably in there to bury the body. God only knows what she was doing down there, but she heard cheep, 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 and she realized that something was in the trash barrel. So she looked, and she found Lizzie. And she dusted Lizzie off and brought her upstairs, and put her back in the cage that she had escaped and locked that door. And the next morning, Lizzie was dead. And that was when I learned that if you really want something really badly and you work really hard for it and you don't ask any help, but you are absolutely determined to get your dream and you work and you work and you work, you're going to die. And that's my lesson for today on this beautiful sunny day in London. And thank you for joining me for my thought.